winter in the Floradesign magazine garden, and it was wonderful to go out and start looking for things that go with this little carrier bag. White plastic chiffon ribbons, fabulous for a wedding. Imagine this in the middle of every table, or as a gift. In the Floradesign garden we have got the end of the lovely narcissus. This one we call a paper white. The beginning of the stunning snowdrops. And of course I'm looking for things in that buttery yellow and green and white. Also the primulas. I've got to show you these primulas because they are fascinating. They come up with long stems. They like it wet, which is perfect for the winters here, and they keep on growing another tier. So that is a young one, and they get taller and taller, and here's another tier arriving here, and eventually there will be 3 tiers. A fabulous time of the year for us to collect moss from the parts of the garden that are very wet, and always coming out Ming fern, and from the collection in the storeroom some Muehlenbeckia. A milk container, a plastic milk container, and this is going to be our mechanic, so there's a wee bit of recycling as well as not using that floral foam. So I'm going to put the milk container inside here, and that is going to be my water source, and just mark where I want it to come up to, which is about there. Oh, did I mention the lilies? I didn't, did I? Beautiful arum lilies. Pretty easy. I've taken off the labels and things. And that is my mechanic. I don't want the plant material all down inside here. For example, if I put the primula in here, it's going to be quite hidden. I want it about this level here. So I'm going to pack my little container here with a little bit of Muehlenbeckia scrunched up in it. If you don't have Muehlenbeckia, any plant that is wiry, or you could put wire netting in here, of course. I like using the plant material. So that not only gives me places to put things so they'll hold, but also it's raising up the whole arrangement. In goes the water. Enough so it's easy to transport, and the flowers do okay, not so much it's going to slop. And then the moss. I've picked moss that's got interesting other pieces in it, little bits of grass, little bits of clover, but it's quite thin. I've taken it just from the very top, and that's going to go in here. So now you can see why I put the Muehlenbeckia in. I wanted the moss to be quite raised and not plonk and fall straight back in. So that becomes our cute little moss container. Then that can go straight into here, and then from here everything will be arranged with it in its little carrier bag. I'm going to start with the biggest things, which are these great big things here. I don't want them that high, I want them fairly low, because they are going to come out and dominate, and we want everything underneath them. So cut to my size, cut it down, little hole through the moss, and then wiggle that down through the Muehlenbeckia, through a bit more, and there it is. Stable, wonderful. Pick it up, it's not going to move. Who needs floral foam when you can do such an easy mechanic as that? So there's my first little one, and we'll put a second one beside it. And do the same thing again. Make sure it's right to the bottom, and when it's to the bottom you know it's getting water. These lilies take a lot of water even at this time of the year. Now we're going to do the same with this little bit of foxtail fern. Once again I've got to check how tall it has to be. That tall, and trim off all these ones. This is just actually to contrast, the contrast of texture with the other things I've done. Still go up a little bit more. And this one should just poke through quite easily. You can use the point of a knife if you have trouble. If you've got soft stems and things, point of the knife will do this quite easily. Alright, and this is just filled it up on that piece before we get to the delicate things. So the smallest things first, and that will be the primulas. I'm arranging it in a vegetative way, which means as it grows. So I'm creating a small piece of the Floradesign magazine garden. Wobble it down and it sits there. I can feel it to the bottom there. Keeping the stems nice and straight. You can see why I wanted to raise it, because they're just above that surface there. But I wanted them to look so pretty, so feminine. Beautiful primulas. You can get them in purple, but these white ones for me are just stunning. And they're creating that bottom layer. So easy to go through. These stems are really very, very strong. They haven't got what you think would be the dainty stems of dainty flowers. This arrangement just takes no time at all, and yet it's so different, and because you're looking down now into that green in there, it just looks so spring-like. Now the snowdrops, and the snowdrops are going to give us some height. Wiggle them down. And you see how they're providing another dimension. I haven't cut them at all, these ones. When I was cutting them, I cut them as long stemmed as I could make it. If you're buying these things, of course, they'll be a little bit less fresh. So cut the stems. Just see, pick it up, it's not going to move. And these pop out in all directions. And then I'll put in the paper weights. And these also will be higher. Don't want them as high as the snowdrops. Doing lots of sort of casual little layers here. Just twist them and they'll go right down to the bottom there. You can have them facing any way you want, and of course, oh, the smell. So you can see I've got those on another level there, and doing it so it's viewed from all sides. Casual little arrangement. Fabulous also for somebody in hospital, just the smell of them is so lovely. And if you look down in here, you see you can't see that plastic container at all. It's completely disappeared. All you can see is the lovely moss. And that is it done. A carry away arrangement for winter, out of the garden, easy to carry, bring it down together. You can swing it over your shoulder or fit in the car easily, and you just, when it arrives at someone's place, they put it on their table and they have a beautiful reminder of spring. These will come out, the lilies will come out and be bigger and bolder. The paper whites will last about a week, the primulas about a week. It's a lovely design to give it to somebody. No floral foam, smells gorgeous, and didn't cost a lot to make. carrier bag we often see is a long, tall one when you're taking a bottle of wine to a barbecue or to say thank you to a host or something. Or sure, you can just grab the carrier bag and put the wine in it, but we want to add some value here. This one has got a beachy theme with shells and starfish, so I thought, all right, okay, so the design around it also has to have a beachy theme, but there is a problem. That bottle of wine, even though it's only half full, is, well, I had to have something to drink as I was thinking about this, didn't I? Anyway, this is actually quite heavy. So once it's in this with its plastic carriers, I can't add a huge amount of weight to it because this has only been held by these bits of reinforced plastic here. So be aware of that, hence not using a paper bag. If I put the bottle in the bag, the lid of it's going to come to there. So I want to raise the bottle up to about here. I could use my shell collection and put it in the base, but it's adding weight. So this is my solution. How tall, much taller I want it? Possibly this much taller. So back to my trusty knife. And then use the scissors to cut straight around here. I have an instant pedestal. Put my pedestal in first. Because it's plastic, you can hardly see it through the plastic, and then add the bottle of wine. And suddenly we've got it to a good height. Okay, now the design I'm going to do has to be so they can still carry it like this, so it can't be too big, anything. And seaside theme, let's have a look and see what I've chosen. The shells. By the sea where we come from, there's often bits of tree. This is birch. There's also this, which we call rabbit's ears. They're also called rabbit's tails, but hey, there's its real name underneath for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some of my shells in here so that they go down the sides, just so when they look into this bottle here, they'll see a few shells. And what's interesting about this all came off one beach. This is called a shelly beach, and it's in New Zealand. It's quite unique. There's no sand on this beach, only shells, so whoa, when we get there, I collect a lot of them. Very useful. So just a few to do the thing, but not too much for that weight. Pop these to one side. So what are we going to do? I'm going to do a heart shape. Birch is wonderful for this because it hangs like this on the tree. So bend it down. This is going to be the middle of my heart here. And the same on the other side. Wonderful, being late winter, this has got no greenery on it, so it's really easy to pick it. Actually off in the wind, we have these bits dropping on the ground, so I'm not hurting the tree. Right, so there's the beginning of my heart shape, and I have 3 different types of wire to choose from. This is bronze bullion wire, this is gold real wire, and that is silver bullion wire. When I have a look at the outside of this container, the bronze is going to be the right colour. Real wire, because it's on a reel, much easier to work with when it's on a reel, and we just round and round. So that when the people open the wine, they've also got this lovely heart shape, which they can use as a memento or kindle on their fire. Now I'm going to spend a minute or two winding around to emphasise this heart shape. Now I've got that bottom piece done, so that all these sticks, these little twiggy bits, are all in closed. Don't have too much thread coming off the reel, that makes it a little bit more awkward. You see how it's emphasising their heart shape as they become more entwined more. Obviously, different times of the year you have more variety if you do what we do and use your own local suppliers and growers. If you buy your plant material solely from a flower market, you will have a lot more choice about what you make your heart out of, but of course buying it adds to your cost. Down to the end here again and twist it back on itself through its hole there. Alright, have a look at it aside if your heart needs because it's now wide, of course it's easily manipulated. And there's our heart. So back to our bottle. I'm going to make sure I've got the ties out and it can be carried. Yes. So the heart needs to go down, just a little heart there like that. Alright, so I'm now going to add some more of these shells to go down the sides. Back to these rabbit's tails. Let's give them a little bit of wrapping once again. With this, keeps the theme going. And tied it off again at the bottom, just like we did before. Put those in the front and the middle of the heart there. Fill up our little flower tube with water. Pop on the lid. These come when you buy orchids or anthuriums, you'll often get these flower tubes. They will take a couple of these stems. I've got 2 of them, so it's not an issue. Alright, now I'm going to tie the back of these once around here. So it can be carried like this, with your hand on the bottom. It's still quite light, and that also means that I can tuck in these down in here and they disappear down underneath and into the plastic as they're going through there. So I've got 2 or 3 of those tubes and I'll put the second one in here. Flowers go into the back of them. Got 5 of these little calendulas. So it's got a front view and a back view. And that's all tidy and tight with the heart. Down here they can see the shells. They can grab it from here and carry it. And you've got yourself a decorated wine bottle, all ready to become the centrepiece. For this design, let's have a look and see what you need as far as hardware is concerned. A box that will fit inside a cardboard carrier, the bottom for the cardboard carrier, some glass jars that will fit into the box, some spray painted sticks, flower tubes, glass flower tubes, and some cable ties. Plant material is all being chosen to match this colour here. So I've started with beautiful yellow orchids. You see the middle of the orchid has got a red centre. So my mechanic is going to be Nandina. And I've also included some Japanese japonica blades and some New Zealand flax that also carries the same yellow as the carrier, so everything is coordinated. This is one of my corporate designs. It has to last 2 weeks at least, and of course no floral foam. These cardboard carriers were really fashionable several years ago, and they went out of fashion because everybody made old style arrangements in them. So the key to get them modernised is to make them ultra modern. So that's how they come, and because I've put that piece of cardboard in, they now sit flat like that. And the key is to have your focal point coming through these holes. The reason I put this in here first is so that it adds to the sturdiness of the bottom, and also I use the glass in here because I don't want any water to get onto the cardboard, because that of course will upset the integrity of the cardboard and it will fall apart. Now that as a mechanic is not too heavy when it's carried, and it actually makes that a very stable base. These are reinforced at the top here, so it's double cardboard on both sides and quite heavy holders. So when you're looking for yours, make sure that they can carry the weight of a full arrangement plus the water. They come in lots of sizes. They're much bigger than this and much smaller, but it means that they can go straight to somebody, be put on a table like this, and they've got this instant arrangement. When I did one of these for my corporate client, they were absolutely buzzed. They said, what a clever idea, and their customers liked it too, so easy as. And this flips out obviously so that you can work on the design. I'm going to put exactly the same thing in each of these jars because I want this design to be a parallel design, and then the orchids will be coming out through the centre. So first of all, cutting my sticks and putting them all in here to get the right height for the sticks. Yep, and now you can go that far. I don't want them coming out of the top of this one. I want them, but I do want them all parallel to there, and that is the maximum length I want my sticks. So my first job is to cut all my sticks to that length. They're all cut. Now, where do I want the orchids to go? Because the orchids are my centrepiece. So they have to go between here and here. So they're seen through the arch. Therefore, this is where I want my test tubes to go. I've got 3 different types of test tubes. Shorter ones, longer ones, and cutie little ones. Depending on the environment, which one I would use. These ones obviously don't retain very much water, so a place where you're not going to get a lot of dehydration, those are the ones to use. Okay, so I'm going to attach my tubes about there, up and down around there with the cable ties. Yellow to go with the yellow. Find a suitable spot. There, my orchid will still be there, and do this with all of your pieces to how many orchids you want to be showing. I possibly want 5 or 6 on each side, so I will use 12 test tubes like that. If you're using longer test tubes, put a second one here so that they don't twist. And of course, because they're yellow, they're adding to that really, really modern look. So that's my next step, doing that 12 times. The Nandina, that is going to be the mechanic, because besides being the right colour for the middle of those orchids, it's got all these lovely little branches on it which will hold all the plant material in, and it will also hide these pots. Fill with water. These have still got to be transported, so I don't want so much water that it's going to spill. I only need enough water for the Nandina, which is long lasting anyway and doesn't need it, but the New Zealand flax does. New Zealand flax is out of water, it starts to curl, and I want it to remain fresh. So I'm cutting the Nandina, so I end up from 5 pieces out of these ones I've cut out of the garden to there and straight down into it, so that the Nandina is covering all sides. Put that one in the tall one and it's facing that way. This arrangement is all round because the receptionists see the back of it. Therefore it's really important for me to make sure that they're not just seeing an ugly back of something. Put it in there. I don't want it coming up here too far. I really do want it just hiding and adding that touch of red at the base. Nandina also retains its colour. What's wonderful about it is as a winter colour source. If you live in an area that gets frosts, certain Nandina will actually get redder with the frost. So I will start with my test tubes one. I've done 10 of them, 5 pots, 2 in each one, and these thread them through the Nandina branches, and they will hold up. When other things get added, they will be more stable. The lime green, because being still winter here, it's a happy colour. It's a colour that brings lightness into a dull office, and this office that this is going to is grey, so having these happy colours is really, really worthwhile. So this is a parallel design. Now I've obviously got more sticks than that, and that is so that they become fillers. So this one here, we add more in the base because we want these to be quite tight when they finish so they can be carried without moving around. I've got them, I don't mind them being wiggly. These sticks can wiggle about a little bit. So the more that you load things into these, the faster you're going to get them to be beautiful and stable. You can see I've cut them so that they're just to that top there. As long as when you're putting them in, you're hearing the bottom of that glass, you know you've got them right down. So as we pack in, we've got more and more. Now this one, too wiggly for me. I'm going to cut it so it becomes a packer. And you can use the stems of anything really to do this. Agapanthus is a really good one if you have them available to you, but stems of any arrangements that you've been doing can become these packers. You also, if you use select glass jars that have a smaller top on them, it also really works well. The key is to get these all standing upright. Now the next one is more stalks, and these are the Japanese japonica, just like the other ones. I don't want them over there, so I'm going to cut these ones so that they're also at this level here. I've chosen them also because they're spiky. I purposely didn't cut anything that was too fussy because I want this to be very modern. And these, of course, more fillers if you need them. And just put exactly the same, 2 or 3 in each one. We're starting to get the contrast. With those in, you can see that everything is starting to straighten, but they're still not really tight inside. I also do a wee check to see how I'm going, how they look, as they're all spilling out through here on both sides. Some of them are a wee bit tall here, but I will cut those off later. So the last thing for this bit to put in is the New Zealand flax, and once again it's got 2 reasons. One is to create a contrast but still picking up the yellow, and the other one is to keep adding to the filler. So that's where it has to be cut there. And it leaves me this piece, which I love these pieces that have got the flat top, that I could also put in into there. I've got 5 pieces of flax, so I'm putting 2 in each container. And you have to start digging down now to find the container. And slide them so they're right into that water. Making sure that these are vertical and not hiding any of the flower tubes where the orchids are going to go. Next one, I know there's one sitting down in here. So we'll add these 2 into each jar. And bringing these ones forward. We want these at the front. Everything's a really tight fit. You can see it's sitting there now nice and stable, nothing's going to move, and that's the key to it, making sure you put enough in those containers so they're not going to move. If you haven't got a syringe to do this or anything fancy, every iron, I'm sure, comes with one of these, and this is quite a nice way to fill up the tubes without spilling it. Don't fill them right to the top because otherwise they will spill over, and we don't really want water on that cardboard. And fill them all up. And now the orchids. These wonderful exotic blooms that are really a late winter flower. How to cut them. If you want a long stem on the orchid, you cut it just above this piece here. And that gives you a long stemmed flower. I'm going to use that stem in a minute on the other side, so I'll just leave it there for a moment. Now it leaves you with these short stems, but it doesn't have to, because if you always cut below there, you can see that this one has now got a long stem on it. There it is. So this will fit and hold inside there, easy as. Same with this one, and if you can actually wiggle them right the way down in there so that they, when they're getting carried, they're not going to fall out at all. You check how they're looking and bring them out this way. These are the centerpieces. Before I add any more of these flowers, I want to connect the top up here. Now if you've got a long stapler, you can staple the corners, but if you haven't, this is a cool little way of making sure it stays closed. You just bring the handles together there and cable tie them together, and of course you can leave all of these little tags on the cable ties because that brings it back to what you're seeing down here, and it's considered quite trendy actually to have them showing. If you hate it completely, of course, cut the little tags off. If your bag is longer, you can get longer cable ties. So there it is, it's still giving us that, but it's now enclosed it. So I can carry on now adding the orchids. So now all of that work we've done in the background just becomes a canvas for all these beautiful orchids. Let's turn it around the other side. And I said I'd reserve this very, very long one here. So this long one is also I'm going to put in down into the container. making sure it's going right through there, pushing it right in, so that they're coming out now from the container, which is really, really lovely. Modern, like a breath of fresh air. Front or back, it's up to you. They should look pretty much the same. This one fit right up in the top. Like this. Now these ones that are flicking out here, you can either flick them out this way, I'm talking about the flax, you can actually track it down and flick it out this way. If you don't like that, you can pop it back up and put it on. So it's up to you how you want to treat these ones. It's much, much cleaner if you cut them off along the top, because then all of the emphasis is on these lovely pieces in the middle, but it's entirely how you want your design to look. Now I can still see some little pieces of my filler material here. It's this piece here. So we take another piece of Nandina, cut it really short, and pop it in the back. So it's hiding there. So this is what you're checking for. You don't want to be able to see any of those glass containers at all. Another one there I can see. So just go round and round and check everything as you go. And there it is. A fantastic modern end of winter arrangement for a corporate, but also a fabulous thing to take along to somebody at a party. Clean lines make it very, very modern. To surprise you, because you probably haven't ever seen it before. It is for a church pew, or, if the bride is brave enough, a bridal bouquet. So once again, we're going to start with some sort of carrier bag. In this case, it is a plastic one with a little white handle, perfect for hanging on a church pew, or if the bride is brave enough for her to carry. A lot of ribbon in the colour of your choice, some glass flower tubes, bullion wire, feathers and a paper towel. For the plants, some sort of trailing vine is what you're looking for, still in its pot. There's the surprise. It could be string of hearts, it could be string of pearls, or it could be this one here, as long as it's trailing, because this is going to trail down the church pew, or will trail down and cascade from the bride as she carries her little carrier bag. A succulent, 2 white flowers, these are white camellias, peonies would be beautiful, gerberas would be beautiful, roses, chrysanthemums, any of that, in either the colour of a bridesmaid or the bride's, or both. These are Aralia seed heads, And these are little cones of a conifer. Take our little plastic bag and fill it up with a mass of ribbon. Your little plastic carrier might not be see-through, but I picked this one because it was see-through, because then all of this lovely ribbon, which will match the colours that you require for your occasion, set the scene inside it. Cut the ribbon in a decorative way, so if you do see the ends, it doesn't really matter. And put them in. I'm doing it so I'm actually creating a hole in the middle for later. Now the beautiful cascading plant is still in its extremely ugly pot. You could obviously cut these all off here and just use it like that, but the secret part of this design is that these can become mementos for the people sitting at the pew, or of course for the bride. She then has a living plant to take away with her if she's going to use it as a bouquet. Pop the plant in the middle of it, pull up the sides, squish it all up, and another two. This is really only to hide the ugly pot, and it can be done with fabric from the gown, anything you like. So it's sitting now like that. It doesn't matter about the wet bottom. This is plastic. If it was cardboard it would be a problem, so don't use cardboard. Now popping it straight down in here through my little hole and into the middle. Right, hanging as a church pew. Holding it as a bridal bouquet, flower girl bouquet. Alright, so that's the idea before we decorate it, so you know what's going on. 3 little glass tubes, which I'm also going to bury and hide on the inside here. And this is where my big flowers are going to go, so that's why I'm putting them fairly close together. Now we're ready for the cascade. I'm going to use the same ribbon, but it's actually too thick to be in scale with this, so I'm going to split it down the middle. It's paper ribbon. You've just got to join in the ribbon there, so it won't rip as well over the top. So just a little snip and you should be able to carry on. How long do I want it? I want it to go right down to the same length and beyond as the foliage. And then I'm going to also rip it again. And I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times. A couple of times with the cream and once with the silver colour. Next step is to make the garlands. So the little cones that I've picked off the conifer here is what I want to start with. I've got to make sure they've got a wee stalk on them. So I'm cutting them with the biggest stalk as I can. And I'm also leaving a tiny bit of conifer on them because it will add contrast as they weave their way between those rather rigid little bits of greenery. The conifer lasts really well out of water. So these are the little pieces I'm looking for. At this point, hang it on something as if it was on your church pew, or if you're doing it as a bouquet, as if it was being held with the 2 handles. I'm going to do this as a church pew, so I've just hung it on this handle so it will give me the idea of what it's going to be like from the back and the front, and also the length that I want things. So the first thing I have is my ribbon. Thread one end through one of the holes in the back, just like that, and bring it down to the length that you want it. I'm going to do the same with this hole here. There's no need to attach it any other way, they're not going to come out. So you're already starting to get this bridal look. This is the great thing about these carrier bags, they've got holes all round them, so they're easy to have things you can attach, like these ribbons. I can also now readjust where my glass files are going, because the action of pulling in that cord and the weight is changing the dynamics. This is why it's really important to hang up a design like this as it's going to be either carried or positioned. If you could do it on the church pews, it would be even better, but if you have to take them and do them this way, that's what you're catering for. Here are my little pieces of the cone. They're naturally going to hang downwards, there's no point fighting them to go upwards. So measure how long I want it, the wire to that length, find the halfway mark and wind the wire around one of your tubes, twist it 2 or 3 times so it will stay there, put the wire through the cone, and then 1, 2, 3 around, and it will sit there. And I'm going to do this just at intervals all the way down. See how it's already giving us some interest, some contrast. If you do these beforehand, they really do get very messy very, very quickly and get tangled and become, you spend so much time trying to untangle them. You might as well do them when you're at the church. And off I do to do it for the second one. So you can see how I've put them so that they're not evenly spaced through there, but they are allowing these little bits of different form, which is so important when you are wanting to create something that's luscious and interesting. The second layer will be the feathers. Feathers are really easy to attach. You're just going to go round once, round twice, round 3 times, and flick it down like that, and wherever you want it, you just pop it in there and let the bullion wire go behind it and put the next one on. And if this is for the pews, make sure that the bride has got whatever you've put in here, just 1 or 2 of the whatever you've put in her bouquet. So if I was doing a bouquet for this, that was a more conventional way of doing a bouquet, I would just tuck a couple of feathers in amongst the flowers. Back to my trusty little canister used for filling irons, steam irons. At this point I would be taking this design to the church if this was for the pews. And once I had it attached to the pew, then I would start adding this top piece. The first one piece is this lovely succulent. Take one of the garland bits of wire, wind it round it and push it in. We then have the beautiful camellia. Take off all of its leaves just to give a contrast of form and bring in the same white as the feathers. I'm going to add just a few primulas in the back, sharing the same test tube as that camellia over the back here. Just adding a bit of height for that one. These are quite long test tubes. You can see how it just Makes it very bridal immediately. One more camellia, I'm leaving the leaves on because it's also giving a lovely contrast. I have a test tube sitting here for it. And it can go in and it's tucked in there. Move these around like that. See why we've got the primrose? It's just giving that lovely extra piece of colour. Now I'm going to make a little posy on top of a skewer. A little bit of the seed, a little bit of the Aralia, and wire them onto here. Neither of these need water, but you might see the bullion wire, so I'm just going round and round with the bullion wire to hold them to the top of the skewer. Don't really need to tape this because you're not going to see this piece. And pop it. Where's my rim there? And pop it in here. Right down really low. This brings the cone up into the top, the cones that I've got here, so it's saying yes, its cones have started here and going down, and popping another one on that side also gives it that feeling that things are meant to belong up the top there. So a second one, I'll do the same. Just down the side there. So now we've got this line coming from there down and through here, and a tiny bit more primula. And we'll turn it around as it would be seen on a pew, and there it is. An arrangement for a church pew, or add more at the back and you'd have a carry bag wedding bouquet. Very different, and it all starts with a potted plant. Good idea? Have a go. For the last one, a tiny carry bag. You can buy these at most little budget shops. It is made of paper, this one. Absolutely perfect for giving to somebody who's got hardly any room. For example, a person who's not well, to go beside their bed. As a thank you for somebody in an office, just to put beside their keyboard. Anything like that. And the key is it's going to bring smell with it. So look at what I've collected. The first of the freesias out for spring. Some alyssum. This little one here, that's its name underneath. Pelargonium, lemon scented. Violets and rosemary. Now I've tried to pick things that are quite small, so the freesias, if we have a look, are going to be quite big in there, but I think they'll be okay. And I also picked things that have got contrast, and the smell is amazing. Because this is paper, it can't get wet. So here's the fifth technique for not using floral foam for these carrier bags, and it's a plastic bag. I could have found one smaller than this. Put the plastic bag right in here. It's got no holes in it. That means I can put the water straight in there. Now I don't want people to be able to see these top pieces, so it's just as easy to cut those off. Make sure that the ends of the plastic are out, because we don't want suddenly it all to collapse in. And then add the water. There we have it. A waterproof container to add our bits and pieces. And I'm going to do this like a little posy. So I'm going to start with this foliage, keeping in mind I've got to look and see where it's going to get to the bottom of here. I can't have them too big, so I think I've cut it about right. And just putting the foliage, just as you would any normal bouquet, in the middle like this, that's fine. Now see, that was going to be too long, so bring it down. And this is the filler. Looking how wide do I want this little posy. Right, so that's going to be my tie point there. Bring up my height again. About there. I can start threading through these beautiful early freesias. These are the old-fashioned ones. They smell divine. If you're buying yours from a market, use your nose to see which ones are the old-fashioned ones, because people do expect freesias these days to smell, and often they breed not to smell. So it's quite an informal little posy I'm doing here. I'm not sticking to a rigid pattern. Beautiful buttery colours, and keeping it fairly contained. Now the little bits of rosemary tucked right down in there. Checking again to see it's not getting too big. And one more piece of rosemary. I picked this rosemary so you could still see the blue flower on it. And now the violets. Put the violets in, because they're such delicate flowers. Put them in groups of 3s or 5. You're getting a good amount of colour. A little bit of alyssum. I don't like picking too much alyssum because it's really in the garden for the bees. The smell is amazing. And then underneath these 2 little leaves of lemon pelargonium. To tie it off, I've got here a piece of paper covered wire. Doesn't have to be particularly tight, it's really just so when I put it in it doesn't all go to pieces. And now where I want it sitting in the top of there, so I'm cutting them about here. Sit in where I want it. These are all turned out this way for the time being. Pop it in. No, we want those stalks a little more. We want it to sit in it, not sit above it. So it's in there, it is. Now you can just pop these pieces of plastic inwards, not too far down, just so it's sitting on the rim there. If you want to, you could have stapled those in, but I just didn't want to make any holes. And there it is, as easy as that, with a little carry handle, a beautiful little posy that smells divine to present to somebody when you go and visit them, or for a lady in an office to have it by her keyboard, and that will last well over a week for her to sniff and just feel as if she's alive this spring. So, have a go with these carrier bags. They really do give you a lot of options without floral foam, and they are so convenient.